People don't decide their future. They decide their habits, and then the habits decide the future. So that's the basis of how identity shifting works. We think we've got all this free will, that we can make decisions, like that. We can change our lives, and we can. It's possible to change your life, but the way it's done is to understand that it's through your daily habits, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. And this is why when I created the journal, I create one of the diagrams, the first diagrams in there, in the identity section, it's called the identity evolution cycle, and it's based on 3 primary parts. You've got the identity, which is how you see yourself. It's almost like your highest level affirmation. Now you can treat this like a high level goal. You can create a new identity for yourself if you're wanting to make a change, and then aim at it. So you've got the identity, then underneath it you've got a set of goals. And even though the identity is a high level goal, these goals are about delivering the various parts of that identity. They're like projects that deliver that identity. But the meat and potatoes of it, how it's done, is in the daily actions, the daily rituals, routines and habits. This is why I promote you do 3 small things a day working towards your goals. So the way the identity evolution cycle works is you feed in an identity at the top. Let's say you're fed up with, everyone's got an existing, we've all got an identity, right? And it happens to be, might not be the thing that you think it is. It's actually the sum of your habits. You are the sum of your habits, because you can tell yourself, oh, I'm a brilliant entrepreneur in a business, but unless you're behaving in that way on a day-to-day basis, your habits will confirm something else. So the way that the identity evolution cycle works is you've got your identity at the top, and you can use this to feed in a new identity. Let's say you want to see some changes. And then you create some plans, which is your goals, and then you start working towards it each day. And eventually, if you continually work towards that direction of your identity, your identity will be confirmed in the habits that you practice daily on a day-to-day basis. And that's why it's so important to understand that it's a bit like manifestation, or visualization. You can't just manifest millions of pounds into existence, right? And you also can't manifest things like, just think about, I want a love relationship, and just manifest that and it just appear. No. You have to start living in accordance with that manifestation. So that's your identity there. It's almost like setting an intention, right? And then you can't just set the intention and hope to manifest everything that you want. You've got to work towards it. You've got to live that way day to day. And eventually, if you live in accordance with that identity, it will confirm it through your daily actions. And that's why, I created that diagram in the journal, because it's so important just to remind us that we are the sum of our habits. You can tell yourself anything that you want, but your habits will confirm who you are. And just a point on setting intentions, because this is quite good. I do this in my meditation. The best time to set intentions, I find, if you meditate, is it's on the way out of that deep meditative state. When you're deep in the zone, it's like, for me, it's like a strange feeling. It's like I have this sort of pulsing in my head, and I just feel like, there's no thoughts, and I'm just almost like going through a wormhole. That's how it feels to me. So when you're coming out of that, when you're just becoming, back round to your normal daily life, just as you're coming out of that meditative state is where you set your intentions. And it's a bit like Maxwell Malt's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. You ever read that? It's a great book. The principle is you choose a goal, like a high level goal, which is like your identity. So you set yourself a target, and then you just aim at it, and you allow your intuitive course correction within your own body and your brain to continually keep course correcting towards it. And this is, Maxwell Maltz gives the analogy of a guided missile. It has a target, but it's not always aiming directly at the target. It's sort of aiming in that direction, and as it veers left, it course corrects right a bit, and as it goes right, it's continually course correcting. And this is just how you should see your identity. So if you think about that goal, it should always be on the horizon, right? It's not that you shouldn't achieve your goals, you always should, but your life's mission should be on the horizon. And then along the way, you're hitting milestones, which are like shorter term goals. So when you hit the goal, you've always got to keep moving the goalpost back, right? Because you've got to keep, it's more about the direction than hitting that goal, right? And this is the whole psycho-cybernetics thing with Maxwell Maltz. You place that target on the horizon, that life mission, that identity, and you work towards it continuously each day, course correcting. And this is how business works. So if you've ever tried to sort of create a business, or even your own career, you think back to when you were at school and somebody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? We always think about this. We have an idea. How many of us actually end up in that? I remember I wanted to be a RAF pilot, right? But I was also good at design and logic and engineering, and so I ended up going down that route. I didn't end up being an RAF pilot. I ended up being a designer, and now I make software for that industry. So I'm not even, I always knew I'd have a business. I thought it'd be creating physical products, but it ended up being digital products. So it wasn't, my target was not it's not that I got it wrong, it's that it was a direction. And what you've got to do, just like when I started my business, you've got to continuously course correct based on feedback. So understand that identity, which is your highest level goal, is just a direction. And as you hit periodic milestones, you've got to keep moving the goalpost back, but you've also got to course correct along the way. So you've got to understand that it might not be exactly how you originally planned. And it's kind of like the agile methodology. You're gonna fail early and continuously course correct. But here's a tip in business. The people that tend to succeed are the ones that don't give up. So if you've got this kind of really rigid idea about your life's mission, your identity, and you're not prepared to move on it, pivot in any way to get there, then a lot of people will give up at that point. The idea is don't give up. Stay in the game, right? Because the longer you stay in, the more compound interest you build. And obviously don't get to the point where you're not getting anywhere. This is where you've got to pivot and move, but keep going and reuse the skills that you're developing. So this is why it's about the journey, really, not the destination. Because if you hit the destination, you move the goalpost back. So, just to summarize, you're not designing your future, you're designing your habits, and your habits will confirm your future. All right? Don't forget to like it and subscribe, and see you all next time.